I'll get to this in a moment, your academic life, your intellectual formation is not a threat to your spiritual life. Nor is your spiritual life a threat to your life of the mind. That's a demonic lie that puts them at odds with one another. What are the kind of characteristics we need? Please.
We need priests who can know and share the truth.
Know and share the truth. What's your name, sir?
JP Stedwell.
JP, thank you. Know and share the truth. Very good. Other characteristics. Sir, your name and then...
Paul. Passionate.
Passionate. Very good. Others. Other characteristics of priests we need today.
Loving.
Loving.
Empathetic.
Empathetic. Very good. Can relate. Yeah. Yes.
Reasonable.
What do you mean by reasonable?
Able to work with people.
Okay, that's good. I mean, I didn't know if you meant like rational, capable of engaging in rational argument, or you mean like getting along with people,
Yeah.
playing well with others.
That too.
Pardon?
That too. Rational too.
Yeah, real rational too. Yes, they're not at odds. Yes, exactly. Be able to plays well with others. Okay. Other things we need in priests. Please. Preaching. Good preachers. And to be a good preacher, you have to pray, have a living relationship with the Lord, and you actually have to prepare. You can't rely on your charm. It lasts about 4 minutes, and then you're done. Then you get the rest of your priesthood to do something else with it. Okay, it gets old quickly. Other things we need. Please.
Sorry, I'm getting greedy with the answers. Joyful priests.
Joyful priests, absolutely. As Msgr Baker said, the fruit of discernment should be joy. All right? All of those things are essential elements of what we need in priests today. I want, in the forefront of your thinking about your own vocation, your discernment, that question should be in the forefront of your minds as you discern. And one of the questions you're going to ask yourself in the course of the next several years, 4, 6, however many you're here, is, who am I? Self-awareness. Okay? As you grow in self-awareness, you'll be able to answer the question, am I the kind of man that can serve the church in priesthood? That's half your discernment. If you can answer, I can do it, and I can do it with joy, 50% of your discernment is done. The other 50% isn't yours to do. It's done by your vocation director, by us, and by your bishop, who makes the final call, regardless. Okay? The pressure's off. It isn't all on you. Trust your formators, trust your vocation director, trust your bishop to help you to discern. As Monsignor said, that's the we dimension of this. So I lead in this way because that's the question I want you to have in the front of your mind. What's the kind of priest the church needs? Can I be that man for the church? What I don't want any of you approaching your formation asking is, what are the hoops I need to jump through to get ordained? If that's the question in your mind now, either get rid of it or get out. Okay? It's not about jumping through hoops. It's about entrusting yourself to the church to be formed, to be men who can be intelligent, intelligible, and credible witnesses to the gospel in priestly life and ministry. That's why in seminaries we don't just speak about, this isn't just a school. That's why I prefer to refer to you as seminarians, not as students, because you're more than a student. You're being formed not just intellectually, but humanly, pastorally, and spiritually at the same time. Okay? If you were in a graduate program of theology at Notre Dame, Loyola, Georgetown, Fordham, you'd be getting intellectual formation. Bang, that's it. And you'd be paying a lot more for it. Okay? What you're receiving in a seminary is much richer, deeper, and broader than any graduate theological program. I was talking with someone recently finished a minted PhD, and it was very obvious that this person, very bright, learned, lacked the breadth that any seminarian would have in terms of theological knowledge. That is to say, knew a lot about this piece of the pie, but one of the benefits of seminary formation is that you're learning the entire pie. Not necessarily all with equal depth, and not maybe as deep in that one slice as that PhD has. But you guys get the whole picture. People who do a master's in theology and go on to a PhD often are lacking in different areas. I mean, I would be amazed, I would be stunned if there were many, newly minted PhDs who knew anything about sacramental theology. They could tell you about 4 verses in Mark, or about some obscure question in a particular writer, but they lack the kind of breadth that seminary formation offers. So it's formation, not just education, and you're a seminarian, not just a student. And here's the other thing. You are not your grades. Since you've been about 4 years old, you've been trained to think that you are identified with your academic performance. Get in the right schools. Come on, you got to succeed. Every guidance counselor in the world puts pressure on you to improve your grade point average. Fill out that dossier so you can get in the right school. Brothers, I'm going to tell you something. I don't care about your grades. I don't say that in an absolute sense, but in a relative sense. I would much rather have you be a good and holy priest who got B's because you were faithful in your life of prayer, can relate well to others, and have given attention to the human stuff you need to work on, than breeze through the seminary with straight A's and be a weirdo or a jerk. There are ample evidence of what I am sure are priests, bishops, cardinals, and in the course of history, popes, who were great students and personally corrupt. We don't need that. Okay? That doesn't mean, however, that I'm giving you license to be a slacker. You're preparing to become a bridegroom to the church. I'm like the father of the bride. I don't want my daughter marrying a slacker. Okay? Like, would you be impressed if some guy says, yeah, I give about 50% of my effort to my work. I want to marry your daughter. Really? I'm not impressed. Again, that's not the same thing as you all have to have A's. Do what you can, given what God's given to you. For some of you, being a B student is what God's asked you to be, and you're going to do well in other things. You're not your grades. So take the pressure off of yourself to try to impress us. Okay? Like, oh, he's got all A's. Whoop-de-doo. Is he nice to people? Is he relatable? Is he reasonable? Is he holy? Is he striving to be holy? Those are the things that matter as much, because they're the context in which that intelligence is going to function. Okay, so your work here is to give yourself the formation holistically. And don't think that any of us is going to be impressed if you get a 4.0. Do I want you to get a 4.0? Sure I do. And if you don't, am I going to be disappointed? Only if you are slacking. Then I'll be disappointed. And I'll come to know all of you well enough to know when I need to kick you in the rear about, like, hey, you need to put a little more work into this. I'll do that. And I'll do it with love. But I'll do it. And don't think if you're getting a B, he's going to be upset. No, are you doing all the other things well? Are you working as hard as you can, given the lights that God's given you? I hate looking classes where these things are. And that's the only question that matters to me. Okay, I want you to be healthy, happy, holy men. Now, the Ratio and the PPF speak about intelligibility and credibility, which you all highlighted in some of your comments. It's not enough for you to have what the documents call scientia debita, the requisite knowledge. Our job is to hand that on to you. And our assessing of you academically is to see, does he know what he needs to know to be a priest? That alone is not sufficient. Because not only do you have to know it, you have to be able to communicate it and relate it in a way that is intelligible. There are people who are really smart, but they could never teach anything. Now, it's not just intelligibility, it's also credibility. Are you real? The people of God can spot a fraud a mile away. Are you walking the talk? Not only do you know this stuff, not only can you make it relatable, but are you living it? That's the goal of intellectual formation and seminary formation. That's why the integration is important, because you lose the credibility piece. If you know all this stuff, and yet you're not living it. Now, to the degree that any of us fail in sin, we lack that credibility. So I'm not here to beat any of you up over the fact that you've sinned or failed. But there's the goal. That's the end game we want. A man who's received the tradition, loves the tradition, will continue to learn the tradition after seminary, because I make a distinction between academics and intellectual formation. They're not one's not reducible to the other. Your academics are the coursework you take a particular semester you're here. Your intellectual formation is bigger than that. You should be reading beyond the curriculum. And you should be reading on breaks. And you should be learning after you're ordained. A priest once said to me, I haven't read a book since the seminary, and I wanted to say, I've heard you preach, I can tell. And that's not harsh. That's what the people, look, you've all sat through crummy homilies, right? How many of you sat through a bad Catholic homily? Okay? Yeah, that's all of us. And you know why? It's because either he didn't prepare, he's given up trying, okay? That's easy for all of us. You're going to be busy as priests, temptations are going to be there, but you've got to make your life of the mind continuous, beyond seminary, beyond the classroom. And if you get, like, you're going to have books assigned to you, readings assigned to you. And you're going to hear from some guys like, oh, there's just so much reading, how are we going to get through all of it? Well, do what you can. Okay? Learn how to read. If you have assigned in the syllabus 3 things to read for the next class, and one of them is part of Augustine's Confessions, the other is an encyclopedia article on the topic, and the third is a secondary article on it, which of those 3 things should you be your priority? Excuse me? The primary source, yeah. Don't just pick the shortest thing on the list and read it. That's our go-to move. Like, hey, which is the shortest? I'll just read that. No, stick. The primary texts are all, Thomas Aquinas or Augustine or Anselm, Bonaventure. Okay, they're always far more important than what someone else has to say about those people. Now, ideally, you should budget your time to read all of them. But if you have to make a choice, stick with the primary. Secondly, let's say you run out of time. You just literally run out of time. You can't get it done. Take a breath. It's okay. You will have, after November 20th and finals, a rather long break. There's nothing to say that you couldn't catch up on those readings over your break. Not for a grade, but because you actually care to learn the material. No one's stopping you from doing that. There is no book you should buy in seminary that you shouldn't want to have on yourself as a priest. Get out of your mind the college idea. Well, take this calculus book, resell it. Well, most of us haven't looked back at calculus, thanks be to God, since freshman year, sophomore year of college. But everything you're going to be buying here should be on your shelf as a priest. You should be building a library, starting now, of what you're going to use to help you teach, catechize, preach, and continue to form yourself intellectually. So your formation is not just academics, it's intellectual formation across the curriculum, beyond your time here. And that doesn't mean that when you go on breaks or on your summer assignment, you have to spend your time in the room reading. The art of time management is something that a lot of people struggle with, seminarians in particular. They're not good at it. Okay? One of the things I'll suggest to all of you, and you'll hear me talk about this frequently, is manage your time well. If you manage your time well, you can get everything done. I lived this summer with, part of the summer because I was an acting pastor in a small parish, but the parish I ordinarily live in, there's a recent graduate of the Mao who is amazing. His name is Father Nathan Maskell. He's the associate parochial vicar of the second largest parish in the diocese, 3,500 families, grade school with 650 kids. He is the bishop's MC. He is the chaplain at a high school. And he manages to go to at least, when we had such things, at least 2 or 3 NHL games every month. He'll drive to St. Louis from South Bend for a game and drive back that night. He never takes naps. He never takes a day off. He never whines that he's exhausted or overworked or overburdened. He teaches at the high school. He's in the grade school. He's the bishop's MC. He does all this. You know why? Because he manages his time. He gets rest when he needs it. But he doesn't sit back and go like, I'm just overwhelmed at all I have to do. He's a model how to manage your time well. And so I encourage you to work on keeping a calendar, writing down things, budgeting time for things, because you'll need that to manage your coursework when you're here. Okay, enough about that. I want to give you, this is a copy of, wretched things. This is a copy of our intellectual formation goals from our catalog that we have established as a seminary. I'm not going to go over them with you. I just want you to be able to see them. This is the kind of man we aim to produce. This is what your formation is pointed toward. So you can read those on your own. None of them should be shocking to you. Like, you shouldn't look at them and go like, they want me to do this? None of them should be shocking, but keep that in mind. That's the end game. That's what we're looking for. How many of you are coming into pre-theology? Okay, how many coming into theology? Okay, so you're coming into different places. Thank you, Joel. I don't know what happened. Queso Grande left and the sound got louder. And Queso Gordo. Test, 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 test. Good. This is what we're aiming for in our formation. Just look at those, take them for what they're worth. But pay attention, because that's what we're looking for in you. Is this a man who can embody these things? If you're in pre-theology, you got a long way to go, man. I would recommend, Ryan Budd last night said something I think is very true, especially for pre-theologians. I honestly think you need to be here 2 full years before you can make a decision like, I'm out of here. I remember talking to a guy who's currently going into 3rd theology, I think. I was a spiritual director, first pre-theology, first semester. Man, I just think I'm made for this. I said, buy in, give it time, and then make a decision after 2 years. And he did. And his decision was to continue on because he realized this is where he was supposed to be. Okay? Those of you coming into first theology, you have experience, a little bit of seminary formation and such. So you're going to be in a different place. But you've got to understand, this is what we're going for. Don't look at that list and think like, I'll never live up to any of this. Yeah, you will. As Ryan said last night, formation works. I've seen it. But you have to give yourself to it. You have to be open, trusting, and trust us and allow us to do what we do. The growth, when I see guys over a period of several years, it's amazing. It's beautiful how God works in people's lives to grow. I'm still growing. I mean, formation doesn't end at ordination. It doesn't end when you're a pastor. It doesn't end when you're assigned to a seminary. I'm still growing. I'm still being formed. So don't think formation is a 4 or 6 year program and you're done. It's lifelong. And as the documents say, it's ongoing. So you'll have ongoing formation as a priest. Those of you entering pre-theology, you'll be taking part in the 2-year pre-theology certificate program. In addition to that, if you'd like, and for those who qualify in the course of their time here, no decisions are going to be made this year, or at least this semester. There's also a Master of Arts in Philosophical Studies you can study for. Will be a little extra coursework and a thesis and such. More on that later. That is a possibility open to you. For those entering theology, and for pre-theologians once they come to theology, the rector basically expects that in addition to the standard ordination program degree, which is an MDiv, he expects if you're capable and no other obstacles stand in the way, there may be things humanly you need to work on, and that's between you and your spiritual director and formation advisor to sort out, or your bishop or vocation director as well. But if you're capable, you should be doing a dual degree. Either the MA or the STB, which is a pontifical degree we grant, which is actually granted by Dominican House in D.C., but the courses are taught here. None of that you need to worry about now. We'll talk more about that in the spring, because first theologians generally, that's when we introduce them to this possibility and they sign up for one or the other. We also have a ministry in Hispanic, a certificate in Hispanic ministry. Some of you already have some Spanish, some of you have a lot of Spanish. Great. It's a pretty easy certificate to complete. And for those of you who don't have Spanish yet, if it is a desideratum of your diocese, and I'm guessing for almost all of you it will be, not a bad thing to get while you're here and grow in it. We have the opportunity to offer you that, plus some coursework in Spanish and to work on Spanish sacramentally, pastoral care, and just conversational skills as well. Okay? There's all kinds of programs. None of that you need to worry about right now. I'm just telling you. So if you're interested academically in pursuing some of these, you're welcome to consider it. No pressure now. You'll be hearing more about it. I want to introduce Amelia Tigner, who is seated up front here. She is the registrar for the seminary. Amelia, how many years have you been here?
More than 25.
More than 25. Okay.
Probably about 28 or so.
28 years as registrar. She knows more than.
Not as registrar the whole time.
Well,
Yeah,
but she's
25 as registrar.
she's got it all. She understands how all this, especially all the technology stuff works. First theologians, this afternoon at 2 o'clock, you're going to bring your laptop or device to heating 18, which is heating with windows downstairs, heating. And we will do registration as a group together. Many of you entering into First Theology, there's not electives in First Theology for you. You just pretty standard curriculum. It will be set up on my mount and it's already set up for you. Those of you who might have special circumstances coming in a little different, we'll meet with you individually after that group session to sort out what you'll be taking, etc. But 2 o'clock today, bring your laptop to Keating 18. Pre-theologians, tomorrow 2 o'clock, Keating 18, bring your laptop. We'll go over stuff with you then as well. Okay.
Having you all register online, you all are our first guinea pigs for that. We had a brand new system that was finally implemented this summer. So before that, it was all done with game forms. That's why we're having you not try to go online yourself. You probably did some of this in college before, but we just want to go over the curriculum first before you actually get in on the computer.
And she's a technological genius. I'm technologically disabled, so yeah.
That's part of his ongoing formation.
or my ongoing purgatory. My idea of technology is papyrus and quill. But so in any case, yes. So bring the laptop, but it really will make registration here on out for everybody so much simpler. It's going to be a great system. This is a great system. I think it'll make everyone's life easier. That's it today at 2 o'clock. I have one final word. Any questions, comments, or expressions of outrage? I'm available. You'll see. They used to call it a fishbowl. It's more like an aquarium on the first floor there. Robbie, do you have a question?
One question for guys that are in special scenarios of entering not just pre-T or first theology.
Well, they're going to be one of the two. Either,
Paul Fisher should come this afternoon.
yeah. DJ, come this afternoon.
Great. So
Yeah.
theology come this afternoon.
Yeah, and anybody with pre-T first or second or questions, come along.
Or the ESL people will come on Wednesday.
Yeah, ESL people will come Wednesday because they'll be tested on Tuesday. They're going through assessment.
Today and tomorrow,
Yeah.
they have ESL testing, and then we'll catch up with them on Wednesday, and then have any overflow of other people we need to see specifically.
And you're going to have lots of questions. Not all of them need to be answered in 5 minutes or today. We're stuck with each other for the next several months. You're going to be sick of me. So I won't get sick of you, but you'll get sick of me. One final thought, and this has nothing to do specifically with intellectual formation, but I'll get you out of here early. Isn't that great? Am I early?
No, you're great.
I know I'm great. Just ask me. One principle to keep in mind in your time in the seminary. The way you live as a seminarian will be the way you live as a priest. Don't wait for ordination to say, I'm going to start praying now. Oh, I'm going to really start getting my calendar together now. I'm going to really worry about chastity when I'm ordained. It starts today. Anything you do that is unpriestly now, root it out now. Anything you should be doing that will be priestly and you're not doing it yet, other than sacraments and preaching, start doing it now. It's okay if you're really beginning. I'm an incrementalist. Let's say you've never really done a holy hour before. It's okay. Start with a holy 15 minutes. It'll seem like an hour. And then let it grow. So wherever you're at, start where you are. But the goal should be your life here. You shouldn't be doing, there should be no double lives, no compartmentalizations. Whatever you do here should be what you're doing as a priest. And there's where those gaps are. You bring those to direction and formation and say, here's where I'm struggling. But the best way to be a seminarian is to pretend you're a priest. And I don't mean just with the garb and the attitude. I mean with the lifestyle. Don't think, well, when I'm a priest, I'll get up early. But I can sleep later now, so I'll do that. When's that going to start? Start now. Live the horarium, the schedule of life you want to have as a priest now. And it may take a while to build it, but do it now. Don't wait. Lots of train wrecks happen because guys wait until they're ordained to start taking seriously what priesthood entails. That's all I got for you. You're free. Thank you. Oh, no, I do have one more thing. Some people like to see the big picture, so I'm going to hand out the ordination program, like the course you're going to be taking over the next 6 or 8 years. 6 or 8. 4 or 6, sorry. Or 8 for those of you who keep failing, and we just keep repeating. We do that to keep your money coming from your diocese. I'm kidding, you've never done that anyway. But that'll give you the idea of what you're looking forward to each semester. That is the core curriculum. The electives are not included on that, obviously. But the challenge for us is that the PPF demands certain required courses be taught. We're happy to accommodate that. What that means is there's less flexibility in a seminary program than there would be in an average MTS or MA program at another school, where they can take whatever you want to get this many credits. Ours are parceled out by things that the bishops say you need to have, and where the freedom comes, we can start adding electives and such. So.
And if you are curious to see how things are going in your My Amount account, you should be able to see your academic plan should be available to you, which will mimic that and will show just what your requirements are, and things will drop off as you complete them.
Yeah, and as somebody here coming from, say, State U, or you're an engineering student at IU or Purdue, I'm an Indiana guy, and you get here, it's going to be a straight program. There's not going to be a lot. Others are coming in with significant amount of philosophy or some theology or philosophy. That's where things get more, not dicey, but complicated, because some of those things we could waive, others we're going to take, others we won't take, depending upon where you did the classwork and that kind of thing. So, Amelia is a master of transcript analysis. Okay.
Well, when we meet with you each as groups this afternoon and the briefing tomorrow, after we got some of the basic general things, if there are people that have specific odd schedule needs, we'll have some individual times after that in the afternoon. If you don't have any problems, you just get signed up and you head on.
We'll send you up.
We'll have some other times available that we can just go, 2-on-1 and go over
Sure.
all of this individually, just to make sure that you understand what we've done as transfer of some of your prior credits and what you have going forward, and answer any questions that you have.
And again, final note, what's the most important thing we're looking for in priests? Holiness. Three of you said it. What's the most important thing? Holiness. One more time.
Holiness.
Now you gotta say it like you believe it. It's not a question. Holiness? Me? 1, 2, 3.
Holiness.
Thank you.